Morning.
Might be.
Let's be all right.
Yeah. You got the floor.
Not real sure how this works. See, I talked to Todd, get the junior seal.
Yeah.
And then Rick, I don't believe I spoke to Rick. But the situation that we're looking for is the property that's being built on East Blue River Road. The house, it's under roof. You know, like it's pretty far along, and I'm not looking to get stuck with the bill. I have an itemized statement kind of going over the cost that we're up to now. I know that there's other things in the works, but I'm going to just try to staple something down to make sure that, you know, we're taken care of, we're covered, and we're not eating all these costs. I don't know if you want me to go into all the details. I know a lot of y'all know a lot of them. I don't know what you're seeking.
And this is what I've told you, and through the building process, talking to the state, talking to the attorneys, talking to FEMA, talking to DNR. Our hands are tied to tell you anything right now, and yet yesterday, 3 phone calls were being made, and everyone assured me they are working on it. I have no reason to disbelieve that. And I told you to come in, I'd give you the floor. Yet right now, and you asked about calling for an attorney, I wouldn't right now. That's what my personal recommendation. You can do what you want. It is a free country. But you do have people working on your problem. But the state and everybody else don't work at our pace, they work at their pace. And movement has been made, but I don't know what the answer is going to be. And I would be crazy if I admitted to anything right now, subject to looking like I want my egg on my face again, but I don't feel that way. I think it will be worked out, but I don't know that for sure. That's probably not the answer you want to hear. You're in a building phase. I went through that 2 years ago. I had weather elements that goes with it. In this case, we go through the legality of a river flood area. That's what we're trying to get solved. Everybody's trying to get solved for you.
I want to make sure that everything's covered, because whenever I spoke to you, you didn't even know my brother was involved into it.
No, I didn't know that till yesterday. And I did ask him, knowing your situation, I didn't know we was talking about another house too. And that's what I want you to be clear of, because we're FEMA and the DNR maps show. And then you said he was limited on space, but I wouldn't advise you going anywhere near that river anymore after this situation with your house.
Speaking of the maps, before we even bought the property, it was October of 2020.
Was that the actual date?
It was in October of 2020 before we.
What was the date on that? If you don't have it right now, I mean, just, I would like to have that date.
I have the date. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. This is before we bought it. I have the purchase of the property. On the date of this, maybe I don't have it right here.
In terms of are you asking for the date for in reference to this map that he's talking about? That was October 29th of 2020.
October 29th.
29th. Yes, sir.
Okay.
On October 29th of 2020 is whenever we kind of wrote up the agreement to buy the property, was like having two houses being the interest of being put on the property. We kind of just pulled the map, sent it to the building commissioner, and asked, will this be an issue for these house locations? Which was actually on, we didn't even know it then, the best available map that he actually found off of the DNR website. This map that has the dots on it shows it clearly in that plane. Travis Elliott said, I'm not sure where you got that map, but we don't use that. We use the FEMA map. So he discarded the correct map and instead went with the wrong map, gave us the wrong map. So we continue on, we purchased the property that we wouldn't have purchased, then that whenever we reached out to who we were supposed to reach out to, they gave us the wrong map and told us our correct map was wrong.
Do you have another copy of that map?
I can leave this copy behind.
Can I see it?
You got the FEMA map there too?
And that has, we have emails trailing that location with Travis Elliott attached to it saying that with these approved, like these approximate locations, everything to go, during the whole thing, we ran into a septic issue, which caused us to just about back out of the property. Got a call from Jim Brown, I believe, and said, hey, your guy doing your septic proposed something that I believe is gonna work. He said it's gonna cost a little bit more money, but we can make this thing happen. So we continue on. No issues with floodplain or anything like that. We had an issue with one of the properties being a little too damp. That was included in the house plans. And then it wasn't until, this house is complete on the roof. It has all mechanicals installed, electric, plumbing. You know, it's, I would say probably 50% done. And I'm not going to get stuck with some of this that could have been prevented whenever that first map that we gave him was denied and said we don't use that map. So, that being said, I have the itemized statement just saying where we're at now. Includes the purchase of the land, closing costs, surveys that we had to have done. Everything after, believe this, all of this stuff happened after that contact happened with the building commissioner. In total was $333,030.36.
Say it again, 333?
$333,030.36.
Again, I can't say no more than I've said right now, and I ask you to give me to the end of the month where I'm going to know more information from everybody else.
Yeah, and I agree, and I said that, I plan on being here March 1st as well. I don't know if I need to be, has to be added to the agenda for March 1st.
Yeah. Every taxpayer is entitled to come in here.
I'd like to be added back, but, I wanted y'all to know the figure that we're working with, and this is the number that I'm going after, because it keeps increasing. I'm paying on property, I'm paying a construction interest only loan that's going up every month. So the quicker we can get it settled, the better off I'll be.
So let it be noted that we'll be on the agenda on the March 1st. 19.
Yeah, if we get it resolved between now and then, then it's no problem. We'll scratch you off the agenda then. Unless you just want to come, but I don't know what the purpose would be. But either way.
Is it okay if I say something real quick?
Sure.
So,
Be quick.
obviously, him and I were kind of in the same boat, but because his house is pretty much under roof, everything's done, and that, kind of begs the question, how did it get this far along before it gets brought up? And I'm really not trying to sound confrontational, and I hope that you can understand the position that we're in. We may come across as confrontational or a little bit agitated. That's not necessarily the message that I'm trying to convey. However, this is, drug on for months and months and months now with no resolution. And I do respect the fact that you've kind of alluded to the fact that you would, your recommendation is that we don't go the attorney route and all that, you kind of mentioned that. Those signals are kind of mixed to a degree because DNR did advise us and we may want to consult with an attorney. I also find it ironic that the day that we're here talking about this is the day that you all are up there talking about a settlement from a floodway issue from 2017. The part that I guess is frustrating to me personally, because I'm the one who had the conversation with Travis Elliott via email and a phone call, I gave him the correct map the DNR has stated that they trained him on. He told me that I was wrong and gave me back the wrong map. And I hope that you can understand that that is a frustrating concept. Somebody who is not in the know, I go do my due diligence, I go to the DNR website, they give me Travis Elliott's number, which was published, and said this is the person to call for questions of this nature in this county. So I did that. I called Travis, I presented him the right map. He looked at it and he said, I don't know where you got that map from. That's not the map that we use. We use the FEMA map. That's the only thing that we use when it comes to issuing building permits. Now, we're this far along in the process, and we found out that that's not the right map. And, to make matters worse, this is completely separate from his situation, but I called Travis on several occasions and had phone conversations with him, and I understand that there's nothing binding with something that he tells me on the phone. But he has told us, and he's guaranteed us, that if this doesn't get, and I understand there's a lot of things that are being pursued. There's, bills that are being proposed, there's hydrologists who've been hired, surveyors out of Indianapolis, and I can respect the fact that it seems like every possible avenue is being pursued. So I appreciate that with all sincerity. But, whenever Travis told me, he said, if all else fails, we will come up with a solution to make sure that you're made whole. These are his words, not mine. He said, if that means that you all have to sell the property, you can take a loss on it, we cut you a check for the loss. And then these are just things that he's saying. These are not my ideas or whatever. And then he told me, he said, we have a meeting with our insurance company, which this happened sometime, I think, in December, early January. We had a meeting with our insurance company. We're going to notify them of this process that we're taking place. And since then, I haven't been able to get a hold of Travis. So you've acknowledged that you all are consulting with attorneys and everything, and you all have lawsuits that are of similar nature from 2017 that are being brought up today. But I just wanted to be heard that my frustrations are building. And this is me, not him. So I hope my statements don't reflect his issues.
Your brothers, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
We don't have any ghosts.
So I understand that you've been advised that you can't say anything today. You can't tell us anything. You can't. But this has been going on since roughly, October? This has been going on since October, and originally it was supposed to be a 2-week problem. And there's so many people involved. There's 2 different sets of maps. Some people know about this map, don't know about that map, and this has went on since October. And we're not any closer to a resolution in our minds than what we were in October, something that was only supposed to be a 2-week delay. And now we're to the point where that, the house has been sitting for a long time. And when this construction loan comes due, we don't really have any answer from Washington County as to how we're going to handle this.
The main thing we want, and I told you, Trina, when we get the house built, you want it to where you can sell it down the road if you had to. If we don't do it right, you would be prevented from selling your house. The second thing of it is, if you did have a floodplain, and one gentleman told me yesterday it never flooded up that high on record. But if it did flood, you would want the insurance company to come out and tell you you're in a floodplain, and that's what we want everything cleared out to where the rest of your life you'll be able to have property. But right now, talking to the engineers and hydrologists and the attorneys, we're in a holding pattern. That's what I told you. It's aggravating for us. If it was me on you selling a dog or a cow, we can make the deal and move on. We can't do that because we gotta go through the laws that we have to go by. And to give you an answer right now, I'd be shooting myself in the foot. Again, come back March 1st, I hope we know more. If we don't know more before that, but I don't wanna build your hopes up because it may not happen. But we know we're working with the state rep, Mr. Davidson, and he's trying what he can do. We're working with the attorney out of Indianapolis. We're working with Travis. We're working with everybody we can possibly work with to get this resolved as quick as we can. We don't want to be here either, and we don't want you having this problem. That's not our goal. But to be able to say, I can give you an answer today, we can't do it.
I understand that. Is there any reason why the information that you all are collecting from the surveyors, the hydrologists, is there any reason why that can't be shared with us? It's our property, and we're trying to work with surveyors too to figure out a solution to see if we can get second opinions and things of that nature, people who's had success with issues very similar to this.
Were you told yesterday that Brian Munch is coming down to take one more ground shot this week?
I was actually told that they wouldn't share, like, who they were working with. They wouldn't give me a name.
Brian Munch is the guy that's working with it, with the state, and he is coming down this week for sure to take another elevation shot to see what we can get worked there. And then he'll submit it to them, and then we'll move on to the next step. But, and I do know it will be this week. There'll be a guy out here taking some ground shots to come up with a solution. But no, I don't have direct contact with Brian Munch. But I do have him as our entries, which is working with Brian Munch. And everybody's working together.
I believe that'll be all until.
I got one more question.
Sure.
So if we get to the point where, we come back in March and you're saying you hope you have a resolution, and what if in March we don't have a resolution, is there any kind of a time frame when we gotta figure out alternative resolutions than what we're working on now? And I mean, we're up against the clock here. We've got a loan that's due in August, and that's why, at some point, the lender that's involved is gonna be very curious as to why this went very crazy, if you can understand what I'm saying.
I understand, and like I told you yesterday, personally, not as a board, and when I talk to you as a past contractor, okay, I know these problems happen. But at the same token, I can give you that answer you want today. If you feel safer calling an attorney, that's your option. I don't know that I would go that way personally, because there's too many working on this problem. And I don't want to see you waste other money. But that's my opinion. But if you feel better doing it, so be it. But to be here and give you any better answers than what I'm giving you now, I can't do it, not the scandal. But I can tell you that there's three of us that have been working as hard as we can, along with everybody else, to get you the answer. But when it gets to the state house, they go home or whatever, we don't. But we don't have that answer. Hopefully we know more by March 1st, if not before. But don't take that statement to the bank either.
No, thank you all.
I'm sorry, I have a very important question. What are your names?
I'm Justin Wilson, Trenton Wilson.